Hi guys, I'm Teenate and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I want to show you guys how I did this Paris cityscape. I really wanted to create something that is my own and different from the rest I've seen. So I photoshopped a few buildings together that I like. I drew the outline of the buildings and some of the detail in a soft pencil. Afterwards, I used my putty eraser to make the lines even lighter. This is an important step to erase the pencil with the putty eraser so that when you paint with the watercolor over it, you don't see the pencil lines. I wanted to create a soft background, almost like a dripping effect. By doing that, I needed to elevate my drawing. By using a 3mm superwood and a bull clip, I clipped my artwork to the superwood. I've used two of my tins lying around just by putting it at the top bit underneath the superwood to elevate the drawing a bit. Before I can start painting the background, I need to wet my paper. I used an old sponge that was clean with some clean water and just wet the drawing with the water. Make sure to make the drawing wet evenly throughout. Then I went in with my big brush, my round 8 brush, and started adding a very light blue that would be the sky to the top of the drawing above the buildings. I add this gradually, piece by piece, and if I see it's too light, I'll add more. I'd rather start with it being too light than it being too dark and have to remove some of the paint. So I want this paint to drip down, so you'll see I've added a lot of paint at some areas for it to run down the drawing. If your blue is too vibrant, you can always add a little bit of black to make it a duller blue color. After I finished with the blue, I started with the black. I always start with the lighter black and then work my way up to the darker colors. Once one layer has been finished, I add the next layer. I go darker and darker gradually. Then I go up into the buildings and give the buildings a light grey background and then work it down into the dark greys and blacks underneath. Once this is dried, I go in with my finer detail into the buildings. I started with the Eiffel Tower just because it's mainly outlines. I want to establish what would be my darkest black on the drawing. From there, I started with the buildings on the left, starting with my lighter greys and working my way up to darker greys and black. I continue this process starting with my light greys, working my way up to darker greys and black with all the buildings, starting with my left building, working my way up to all the buildings on the right hand side. It is important to have contrast in the buildings, to have a light, medium and a very dark or black greys on it. I did not add all the detail to all the buildings. I tried to get in the most important areas and work my way up from that. The main goal is to recognize the building and not have a replica of the building painted. When I finished with all my buildings and I was happy with the contrast between the light and the dark in all of the detail and on the buildings, I started adding in a darker shadow underneath to make it look like the darkest of the dark buildings is running down onto the paper. By using the edge of my paintbrush, I use a more of a drag effect rather than using the normal swoop effect. Because I don't want straight lines and I want it to be more of an artistic look, I use this method. I also went in with a paintbrush just filled with clean water and drop it in between the painted areas to give it that artistic, creative effect. As you can see on the edge of where the buildings stop, the watercolor paint is running down. I made sure the darkest of the building is also in the watercolor paint running down, so that it is a smooth transition between building and water running down. When I finished with the watercolor and I was happy with the darkness and the effect it was giving me on the paper, I started going in with my gold leaf. I used a very old hard paintbrush that I used to do oil painting with, and I cut it diagonally into the paintbrush so that it almost doesn't have a smooth edge anymore and more of a rugged edge. Then I squeezed some of the gold leaf glue on my plate and I dabbed it onto the drawing. I wanted to get this effect because I don't want the gold leaf to be smooth and more of a patchy look. You can see I've just dabbed the paintbrush here and there on the drawing, and I used a fine paintbrush to add in some finer lines on the actual building. I want to emphasize areas of the buildings, therefore I used a thinner paintbrush to add in those details with the glue. So you'll see I've used the gold leaf on parts of the building, such as the statues or on the edges of the building. It helped to emphasize the drawing and makes it pop. Once the glue is dried and I've added on the gold leaf, I use the same paintbrush after it's been cleaned and dried to scratch off the unnecessary gold leaf. I do this quite roughly because I want the gold leaf to be almost scratched and not smooth and perfect. Once all the excess gold leaf has been removed, I noticed that there is a few spots that I'd want to add in some more. So I repeat the process by adding the glue, waiting for it to dry, and adding the gold leaf itself onto the drawing again. Using the same paintbrush, dried and washed, to scratch off the excess gold leaf again. I quite enjoyed painting this artwork, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel to see some more of these videos. See you next time.